Hi, Zizaran here with another episode of Path of Exile University, and I wanted to take a crack at covering some crafting stuff. Obviously, Harvest is not going core, so yeah, I wanted to talk a little bit about different crafting methods, some just like generic things and generic tips to help people in general. It's obviously not something that is going to cover everything, but I think there's like quite a lot of things that we can talk about that is pretty useful for new players, especially with the harvest stuff going away. Um, so the honestly, the first thing I want to start with for this episode, which I'm gonna try to talk about in every single guide I have, but just go to options, user interface, and have advanced mod descriptions. This is like pretty much always good to have on, and it just gives you more details on things. It'll tell you the tier of the mods, and a few things like that. So pretty important to have that on. It'll also and you can, when holding alt on the item, you can see like the item level and things like that. Um, so before we rush on, let's talk a little bit about item level and what it does and how it works. Because I think that's pretty important to understand for crafting. So if we look here, now I've clicked on the pewedb.tw site, and we're looking at body armor or int armors. So this is for things like Val Regalias and stuff like that. And I can talk about base types after item level, but I want to cover item level real quick. So the highest item level in the game right now is item level 86. The easiest possible way to get item level 86 items, especially like reliably, is actually through Delve. Delve has an area that let's see if I have one. I might actually have one that I'm close to. I'm not 100% sure. But I do know that I've found one. It would be nice to have as an example, but it's so hard to, like, the search feature is so bad on things like that. Yeah. Let's see. It is around when it like hits 83 the first time. Oh, I think I saw it. Search feature is really bad here, to be honest. But what it says is like monsters drop. It's like at a higher level. Oh, here I found it. Monsters drop items 3 levels higher. Once you get to monster level 83, plus you find that mod, then it'll basically be raining item level 86 items. And the reason why that is important, this is so good for item level 86, yeah. And the reason why that is important is there are like some specific mods, like for example, we can bring up the PoEDB website again. If you see here on Energy Shield, you can see that you can get 10% more Energy Shield here by getting 86. So there's like quite a lot of mods at 84. There's a couple at 85, and there are even fewer at 86. Like Titanium Spirit Shield, Val Regalia, and a few others like benefit from this. And this isn't like necessary for crafting, but if you do have that accessible, you know, you do have a better chance of getting really, really good items with that. So I very much try to do that for like Valor Gallias or Titanium Spirit Shields. As far as like figuring out what base type is worth crafting on, the wiki is pretty helpful for that. So if we just search for PoE body armor into Google, you can like scroll down and you'll see here that like the highest armor plate is a glorious plate. It has 776 base armor. Yeah. It's the base armor there. But then you'll see astral plate only has 60 less, but it has the 8 to 12 all rest. So astral plate is obviously a very popular choice here. Nobody cares about evasion chests pretty much. Val Regalia is the only choice basically for energy shields chests, because you're losing out on 13 base with a Widow Silk. Occultist Essence is never really an option, like that's 33. So you'll see most people crafting energy shield chests will always be using Val Regalia. Hybrid doesn't care pretty much. And here on a Sadist Garb, even though a Carnal, so this is usually used for Tricksters. This is worth mentioning as well. Carnal Armor and Sadist Garb are both usable, but most people use status guard because of the higher evasion, and on a trickster, evasion gives energy shield. So this is the best that most people will use for like the hybrid chests. It's very easy to get like a 700 equivalent of a Valve Regalia. So I just wanted to like quick intro to base types, and just googling like PoE Axis will like get you that on the wiki very quickly, and then you can like scroll down and look. It's not always clear cut. The best base type that most people use here is Siege Axis still, just because the higher attack speed. That's very good for one-handers. For two-handers as well, it's a bit more complicated, but this does give you like some indication of base types. Val Axes were very popular for a while, but now you have, for example, Karoo Choppers are very popular with slow weapons. And like Despot Axes are more popular now. Like there are different reasons. Different reasons. But yeah, then we'll look at item level again. So you'll see that there are like different like Agony Splitter, nice. We'll see that there's like different item level thresholds here. So let's talk a little bit about, for example, item levels for Energy Shield. There's, while obviously like there are like some really big ones here at 84, 86, and if we look at the flat, 75 is the highest there. You can see that you can still get very, very good items by crafting on like mid-tier things. So if you're able to like push up to like 75 pretty early, that works. 78 is decent for hybrid rolls, but you can definitely craft something good without having these two rolls. So you are only losing out on like 9% from this, or another 9% from this. It's not the end of the world. It does add up very hard. Most people like find it very easy to get to item level 84 bases. But early on, you'll see a lot of people crafting on like 72, 75, 78. It's strange. Every time this says crafting, I only hear gambling. Yeah, it is gambling, but there's things you can do to influence the odds to be more in your favor, obviously. There is no like crafting like that in PoE anymore. Goodbye harvest. So yeah, for ES specific items and like gloves, boots, and helmet is a lot easier. That can be even lower item level because they don't have these like item level 86. Item level 85 isn't terrible on a helmet just because you can't hit. Oh, it's just 82. I don't know why I thought Genius was 85. Interesting. Oh, maybe it is on helmet. I'm not going crazy, right, chat? Okay, good. Right, because that can get polymath. That's why. So helmet can get 85. Fossils, and like, yeah, we'll talk a little bit about different crafting methods. Fossils are going to go up in usage a lot more now with harvest being removed. So it's good to like explain a little bit about these, because these are actually clickable. And there are lots of useful things you can figure out with them. Path of Exile as well. Don the Crown has a video on that could be worth checking out. But you'll see here when I click the dense fossil, you'll see that the weighting goes up from 11,000 to 110,000 weighting. So you're like a lot more likely to hit different energy shield mods, right? So that's really good. Now dense ones are going to block the life modifiers. So if you're looking for energy shield gear, this is even better because now you've like rid yourself of some mods that you don't want. And you can play around with, like for example, you could do metallic, then you have a higher chance of lightning rest, but you also remove the physical damage there. And you can like play around with like blocking things. An example of, let's see, where is that? Is there not one for convoking one specifically? I can't remember exactly what the combo is now. Does anyone remember what we do for like minion, the convoking ones? There used to be like a separate one for convoking ones. Is it under special? Thank you. I was wondering where they moved that. Actually, this is a good option to show off Path of Exile. I'm not going to go too into it, but I can do a quick intro. So let's click on one-handed weapons, convoking wand. We're going to choose crafting method, fossils. And then let's say that the mods that I want, I'm looking to get a +1 minion and +1 spell skill gems, right? Now we're going to click on compute best selection, and you can see that why Path of Exile is a very increasingly popular website. It is now testing all the selections and seeing if there's like what you can use in your favor. Hello, sir. So it's computing, and then we'll talk a little bit about the results and how this works. There's a lot of things that you can work and play around with. Sometimes there are things that are guaranteed or nearly guaranteed. When it takes this long, I can't afford the craft. Yeah, it's free. Then it shows you a 1 in 5,000 chance of getting it, but that's not always the case. This is one example where that isn't the case. Here you can see that with corroded, jagged, metallic, and shuddering, it's in 12 tries. So let's look on the, let's see, where did the PoE go? Here. So what was it? Corroded, jagged, metallic, and shuddering. Corroded, jagged, metallic, and shuddering. And then you get to see exactly how much it poops away. Most of it is gone, right? Look at the prefixes. You can either hit this one, the hybrid one, minions deal increased damage and spell damage, or spell skills and minion skills. So the reason why this is so good is that you might like find a couple of prime resonators for like this craft in particular, and I've done this quite a few times. There was one time I was insanely unlucky. I think it cost me about 36 prime resonators, and I was just doing it out of spite. I was like, I hated life, so I used like way more than I could have bought one for. But a lot of people do this to like make money too, because on average you have like pretty good chance to get a +2. The way it works is if the convoking one hits 5 mods, you're guaranteed one of them, and on 6 mods, you're guaranteed both of them. It's the way it works. So with 4 mods, you would get like 3 whatever suffixes, and this one. And then the 5th is one of them, and the 6th is the other. So that is like one example of like looking at what the fossils can do for you and using Path of Exile. Can you just exalt the last? No, because like those like the no chaos modifier, no mana, that doesn't stay on the item. That's only for that one craft, that one slam. These 12 attempts are roughly 12x. Yeah, this is like an endgame item. I think there's some like important lessons to be learned here about looking for what is blocked and stuff like that. And we were all using this quite a lot during Harvest to figure out like how we could block things and stuff. Especially like on Amulets guaranteeing like +2 Amulets with Hunter was very easily in Harvest. But Delve honestly is very, very important in the upcoming league because we don't have Harvest anymore. So we can just go look in game and you can see here like so obviously the way they work is they make it more likely to roll the things that it says on it, and then it'll block something in most of the cases. There's some special ones like Bloodstained Fossil doesn't block anything. Gilded Fossil is kind of special. It's worth mentioning actually. There's a cool niche use for this that is like not just like here, I'll show you. There's a cool niche use. I have like a base there. So using this one, for example, what it lets you do is you can vol this now, and it can give it implicit, unless this is changed. I don't think it's changed. It hasn't been changed in Harvest. You can vol it and it'll remove the item sell for much more to vendors. It's still there, right? And anyone can confirm that they did in Harvest? Because normally voling it and changing the implicit, yeah, I have no volers, it's frustrating. Voling it and changing the implicit would normally remove the socket. But now it's a 50-50 chance that it removes the item sells for much more to vendors. Then you can have Abyssal Socket and all resist. Try selling. Sure.
Long day.
But like, yeah, that's not the main. Oh, right. They changed that. Yeah. They don't let you see what it is anymore. A lot of mystery boxes. It's because they... Fine. Yeah.
Blessings.
It's 3 mirrors. They changed it because it was very exploitable before. People were printing money. But yeah, so that's an interesting use of that fossil that like a lot of people wouldn't think about. Same with that would work on unset rings too. If you really want to volley, obviously that's risky. Sanctified Fossil, when do you use this? Realistically, never. Sometimes on Energy Shield gear, it can be okay to throw it in there. I've never really had... It really doesn't. It's never worth it. It's never worth the extra resonator slot. Like, sometimes with dense fossils, I'll throw them in there and be like, ah, let's see what you do. Oh, nothing again. The most useful fossil, in my opinion, especially for Energy Shield gear or 6 linking, is a perfect fossil. Worth talking about as well. Obviously, quality makes it easier to link in 6 link items and stuff. And it's just straight up more Energy Shield on ES items. You have to do this before crafting it, obviously. But yeah, and like some of them don't block, but instead like make it just less likely. So serrated fossils, it doesn't block out caster mods, but it makes it like less likely that you will get caster mods. Oh, I will SSF.
Glad you made it back.
This is SSF.
Exile.
I can't get anything.
Warm nights.
Let's see. There. So that's like a little bit about fossils there. And there's so many good examples. A lot of specific build guides will talk about and give examples for where it is really good. For example, like the convoking one, where there's like a special recipe that like makes it very likely to craft. Sometimes with bows as well, there can be good things there. And a few other ones, but that's like very, very specific. And there's just so many different cases. I can't right now, Mando, I'm sorry. And thank you. Good to see you. Does craft and quality count for linking? Yes. But let's talk a little bit about other ways of crafting. So alterations are going to be a lot more used again in generic crafting, which is obviously a pain for solo self-fan or a trade league because a lot of people just don't sell alterations. So it ends up just being very, very expensive. I remember back in the day when alterations, you would get 20 alterations for 1 Chaos Orb. And it was glorious because nobody crafted back then. It was just a very nice time to exist. Now it's like 3 or 5 alterations per Chaos Orb. And it's a lot less fun to exist. But how do you alteration craft? So like obviously there are things like specifically, like I don't know if Heist is going to have anything to do with crafting or not. Just assuming that it doesn't. But there are things that you can like craft like that. So for example, let's talk about two-handed axes, right? I've crafted a lot of axes using alterations. And normally what I would look for then with like weapon bases in particular is I would be... here, let's just grab one. Here we have at least the item level 83 Valax, right? So you can get Merciless. Then we quality 20 on it. Doesn't really matter if you do that before or after. And then we were just alteration spam. Now, one sec. Now, just already here, there's something I can teach you guys. So obviously right now we're looking for a prefix, right? And that's the only thing we care about pretty much. So here we got bloodletting. We don't have a prefix on this. Now, this isn't a particularly valuable suffix. I don't really care about bleed because I'm not rolling for a bleed build. I'm rolling for a crit build or whatever. But because augments are so easy and you normally end up with hundreds of them that it's just sitting there, it's always worth augmenting every suffix in the case of you are looking for a prefix. So the way I would be crafting then would be like this. And then I don't care about augmenting when I have a prefix and an open suffix. But when I have an open prefix, then I will always augment for that. Because there's a good chance that I would augment a good roll, like Merciless, for example. So just yeah. And then there are several rolls we'd be looking to keep, like in this example in particular. So on Axis, you would definitely keep Emperors and Dictators. Early in the league, you could keep Conquerors as well. These are hybrid rolls, so they can stack with the pure roll. Here we have the pure rolls. Early on, you'd probably keep Cruel. And then later on, you'd be keeping Tyrannical and Merciless and then regaling on that. Flaring, I'd probably regal every flaring as well. And obviously getting a high attack speed roll gives you a bit more stuff. This would be like, actually not really usable early on because you wouldn't have multi-mod recipe. But so we'll just throw a few more and just see if we happen to get something usable. But like this is generally how you could craft for a lot of things. Alterations are definitely like useful. Sometimes I do like very, very rarely chaos spam. I feel like I mostly would chaos spam boots or belts. Can axes craft stuff be applied in the same way to swords? Yeah, this is just any physical weapon in particular. Yeah, it is basically we're back to gambling. Annealed I wouldn't keep. There is like a flat physical upgrade recipe that goes all the way up to tempered with granite flasks if you have a lot of granites. And for all the recipes, just like Google PoE recipes, and then you can see them there. There's tempered. We could keep that. Like, we didn't get anything good. Now, this would be useful on day 1 kind of thing, but not much past that. Yeah. Oh! Actually, this is worth covering too, because a lot of people don't know about it. So the 32% reduced attribute requirements, socket colors are based on the attribute requirement. So there's a very big item or color difference in the sockets on an item that has the level 30 strength requirement or an item that has 150. So sometimes on a chest, say you have a 6-thing chest, right? And you're about to craft it, but it's 160 int, and you really want some green and red sockets, you could actually craft 32 reduced attribute requirement first, and then try to roll the colors, and you'll have a higher chance to get the other, like, off colors. Or a caster bow. I like that this has happened while we're giving examples, because this is an excellent example. So, this is insane. This is, like, actually insane. So, now you would consider imprinting. Just get a perfect axe. So this is already like a 5 or 10x axe. At this point, you would... I don't think I have an imprint, so I can't even show. But the way I would do this now, especially if I was like really, really wanted this, your luck for heist is gone. We would use imprints. And how does imprints work? So the way an imprint would work, I'll try to demonstrate as well as I can. You would it's called a Crikey Chimeral, and it's like that Arctic breath frog. And it would be called like something like imprint. And you would have a, let's see, there, Crikey Chimeral, imprint of a magic item. So this doesn't work on rares. The way it would work is you would put this in, boom, and it would give you like a small little thing. Maybe someone can link me one, because I'm not in D&D mode at the moment. But if someone can link me an imprint to show how that looks, it's like an eternal orb. And that basically creates a save game of an item. And that is what we would do in this case, because this is already guaranteed. If we hit a low flat physical roll here, we'd be very sad. If we had a high one, we're very happy. Or if we had hybrid, we're very happy. But no matter what, as long as we don't hit a low flat physical roll, we will be very happy now. So this is now a very, very good axe. There's a couple of things like we could gamble, especially with the imprint. Like this is something that would be a little bit worth gambling on. You could multi-mod. Multi-mod is pretty decent, because you could do like the craft 3 additional modifiers, and then you could do. To be fair, you kind of would like. It would be decent if the crit multi wasn't there, because we could craft the flat physical and then something with quality, giving even more damage. Right? Quality is very important for stuff like this. As far as other prefixes, it's basically, I mean, we have weapon range, quality of support gems, but more importantly, for builds that are crit and stuff and nice throw with accuracy, hits can't be evaded would be really good too. Just because this is a video and we're having fun, I'm just gonna like YOLO, because I wasn't expecting to get that good at like random result. I'm just gonna throw an exalt in it because I don't have a use for my exalts and I don't care about the axe. Cool. Awesome. So we did actually hit hybrid here, putting it even higher. And then we would craft this 24 to 42. Oh, I actually ran out of chaos. That's not
Salah.
excellent. So just as a quick example, you see how easy it is to craft axes. 371, that's the bottom roll, plus 640, that's the high roll, divide by 2, multiply by the attack speed. So we just crafted a 730 PDPS and SSF with like 30 alterations. It's easy. Can you show how to copy into POB to see what I would craft on it? Sure. So before crafting the fist on here, you might not be sure if this is an upgrade over your last axe, right? Especially if you're new to crafting. So then it would Control C over the item, open up Path of Building, and then just Control V. This is like no special mod, it's just a feature of the game. And you can see even without Fat Physical crafted on it, it's 608 DPS, right? And then we would craft Physical. We would craft the physical damage that we wanted here. And then like, oh, let's hope for a top roll. And we see that it goes all the way up to 750 on the top roll here. Another nice thing that you can do as well. Like, what was it I said this was? But anyway, let's say that it's 700, right? But I see that already it can go up to 750 with some divines. I will try to figure out what is the max possible roll for this. So I see that it goes to 169 plus 24, right? That's the max percentage I can get. 169 plus 24. So this goes all the way up to 193. What I do then, and this is really important for crafting, is I go and edit that in. Because now, and then let's see, the attack speed goes to 27. Because once you figure out what the max possible... There. So this goes all the way up to 786. Right? That's a very nice axe. The important reason of why you want to edit it to get it like super max is because now you know exactly what to stop at with divining. You can sometimes, if you really want to care, you could like figure out what the bottom roll is too and try to end up somewhere like more than 50%. But yeah, checking like how much it is there would be nice. And then let's say if it didn't have crit multi, right? Let's say that it didn't have crit multi and that I was able to multi-mod and do like the craft multiple mods so that I was able to get quality on it, which we don't actually need to add here because it just turns red. I'm just going to show you to explain. So let's say that we had the, you know, we need accuracy. Obviously, I can't craft attack speed and quality, but I could craft crit, accuracy, or strength. So let's say that we craft the strength and 18 quality. This is red because it doesn't like automatically add it in. But we can do that ourselves. We can put it in here. So we could add another 18 quality, putting it at 38. But we can also very, very easily achieve 8 additional quality from Hillock, which is through the betrayal system. If you have Hillock on transport, you can force a weapon to be 28 quality without re-rolling it. So he needs to be level 3 in transport. Any position, doesn't matter if he's the leader or not. And I do have an in-depth guide on betrayal, but that's how you can get that. And you also have through bestiary corrupted quality. This will have a 0% chance of bricking it. Like you can't like accidentally like, oh no, it ruined my item. It will still corrupt it. So make sure that you're done divining and done linking before you do this. But this will corrupt it and force 30 quality on it. And that means that I could get up to 48 quality on this. Let's look at the damage boost once we get that. Now we're at 850. So that's pretty nice. So it is actually a very, very good weapon. So let's say that we were able to divine it and stuff like that. Let's take a quick look on pathofexile.com/trade. Just because people were curious and I'm curious now. So if we were able to divine it, it's actually not worth like a fortune because harvest is so insane to roll, right? Honestly, I think normally, I'd say normally this is probably worth 5 to 10x. And harvest is probably worth 1. Yeah, harvest is terrible for this because obviously we rolled this differently. Oh. You know what? Maybe it's worth even more then. Maybe like 10 to 15. Just Path of Gambling? Yeah. I legit did manage to get something this good in hundreds of fish seeds, you little shit. Yeah. Harvest is not around. It's being removed from the game. A disfavor is 600. So we just crafted a weapon and a few alterations. A lot better than a disfavor. But that was not intentional. That is not intentional. I'm slightly molding. Well, it was an accident. I'm sorry. How to get exalteds in SSF? Kill things and hope. It's just RNG. I mean, you can farm like arcade with div cards and stuff. After you use the quality fossil, can you spam alterations without removing the quality? Yeah. So, for example, and this is actually a good example because while the Hillock thing and the Bestiary thing won't ruin the roll, perfect fossils will. So say goodbye to this sweet axe, because this is a mistake that a lot of people have done, thinking like, oh wow, I want higher quality on this. So do remember that perfect fossils needs to be done before crafting the item, and that's very important. So perfect fossils before, and then you can get it to 28 on armor or weapons with Hillock. So armor is on fortification, and weapons is on transport. And that like doesn't change the item at all. And same with like corrupting it. But obviously there are several cases where you might not want to corrupt it. Maybe you only have a 5-ling and you want to 6-ling it later. And stuff like that. Been there, done that? Yeah. Ruin nice axe. Got it. Yes, Lupus. So that was like some examples there of alteration crafting. On quite a lot of influence items as well, you will be alteration crafting a lot. You can check in like on the PoE DB website and see if you feel like if the weighting is very high. We'll show some examples of that. Let's look at amulets. So, different ways of crafting amulets. Now, in Heist, getting a +2 Chaos Amulet was very easy. Sorry, not in Heist, in Harvest. Because all you needed to roll was +1 int gems, and then the +1 Chaos is guaranteed through Harvest crafting. Heist is probably going to be very different, for this is very hard. And you'll see here that for these, there is nothing really special we can do here. We do have the... Is it faceted? But you wouldn't use that on this anyway. Is that what it's called? Yeah, the faceted would give it a higher chance to roll, but honestly, that's used on quite a lot of other things. So you never really... They're so expensive, we're never going to use it on a Hunter Amulet. Catalysts? We can talk about that. That's not super important. We don't have that much time. Technically, the lesson's done, but I want to like keep going for a little bit because I feel like I have a lot of important things I can teach people. But yeah, so let's look here. Where did Hunter Amulet go? Here. Hunter Amulet. So yeah, right now you'll see that there's realistically no way I'm gonna like increase my chances of getting strength, dex, or int gems. So here, you're kind of forced to use alterations. Whereas if all I care about is getting chaos gems, I can just start spamming aberrant fossils. And you'll see here that the weighting goes up. It goes up to 2,500 instead of 250. So that like increases its odds a lot. When something is like 250, that means it's like fairly common. But whenever something's like what's something really rare that we could use as an example? I think some of the attack rolls are very low. No. Explode? Yeah, explode chest is very rare. Let's show that. Good idea. So something that's actually very rare to alteration roll. I think this is like 1 in 3,000 alterations or something. 25. So even with like spamming jaggeds, you only get 250. Yeah. So exploded chest is like very rare. Minus 15 mana cost chest. Yeah. So there are things that can be fairly rare, and when you don't have fossils to help you, they're very hard to roll with alterations. And yeah, honestly, Path of Exile is now a lot more about gambling. It's not really crafting, I guess, but it's the closest we have right now, and I just want to try to like give people tips. But like, yeah, generally you'll have a lot of people rolling for these, and they'll take any. They'll keep any and then trade with somebody else. Like, oh, you have an int amulet, I have a strength amulet. Here, let's swap. And then a lot of people will like use Awakener orbs, which I'm not going to talk too much about today. I have crafting guides that do cover Awaken orbs. It is total gambling. Yeah. Well, I mean, gambling where you can increase your own odds. You need to be able to tell which of your failures will sell. Yeah, so that is a very, very difficult thing. Something that comes with experience. The next time I do a price check episode video, I'm going to try to have as many examples as I can. But something I would say is important with crafting, which is obviously hard on like not something you can do on SSF most of the time. But if you're playing Trade League, you need to know what are the different things that I can keep, what is worth stopping at, and that is something where you just need a shit ton of examples. Because if you're only rolling for one specific thing, let's say that you were rolling for only intemps and you're over-rolling Dex Strength, you're over-rolling Chaos, you're over-rolling Malevolence, Mana Reduction, like there might be loads of other things that other people might need and you might be rolling over. And that is a big problem with crafting. That, like, if you're crafting for profit, knowing that is very important. And honestly, very hard. So, like, for example, a quick example of something people roll over more than anything. Let's go look at scepters or wands. So sometimes, this has definitely happened. Like, I think nobody would disagree. But there's definitely players that have gotten like maybe 60 spell damage or even 70, maybe even 80 spell damage and mana, right? That might have happened. Very likely. Because somebody might have had like 120, 130 mana and 60, 70 spell damage and they've rolled over it. They've been like, I don't need mana, right? Whereas that's worth a lot because of Archmage. The way Archmage works is it turns your mana into damage. So for people that use that, that's worth a lot. But new players are going to just be like, roll, roll, roll. It's not what I want. Not what I want. Even if you're SSF, well, it can be good to keep for future characters. But yes, obviously the crafting for profit is a Trade League thing. And Archmage is still very strong. One of the stronger builds. Even after all the nerfs. No, not really, Dessel. Blind Truth, thanks. Archmage got nerfed in Harvest. It's still good in Harvest. Time to rebonk Archmage. But yeah, so I will try to like put up like, especially during Heist when we know a little bit more of it, I'll try to do some more like crafting updates. I feel like the best thing I can do is do longer episodes that are specific and just pump out as many as possible, like how to craft CI gear, how to craft armor gear, like what to look out for, and try to be more specific. It's very hard to do like general things like we're doing right now. So I think we're going to end it there. That was around 55 minutes or something. And yeah, I realize that it's gambling, but obviously there are so many things that you can do to like influence your odds in a better favor, which is what you want to do. So I hope that helps some people. I tried to do like fairly generic and not too specific, but with some examples to talk a little bit about it. So yeah, hope it helps some people. We're going to be ending the lessons there for today. And again, we're never paywalling these, but if you do want to support the channel, like subbing on Twitch is the best way to support it there. So yeah, thanks for watching and try to die less than I do.